Let's start here. The Colorado offense lost that game. They did not show up. They shit the bed. And I don't just mean the players. I don't want to pick on anybody in particular, but I mean the personnel, the scheme, the coaching staff failed the Colorado Buffaloes this week. And that is the reason they did not win the game. I'm putting that solely on them. I'm going to tell you why. I want to give props to Colorado defense. They held a ranked opponent to really 19 points. A top 25 team came in to the home stadium and they held them to 19 points. I commend them. They should have won the game because they played well enough. If the Colorado offense scores 21 points in the first half, I believe that game's out of reach for Oregon State. Oregon State's offense, they need to have things in. Almost everything perfect has to happen. They need to be on a roll. They need to have first downs. They can't have holding penalties, and they can't have sacks. They are so limited pass-wise. It's like watching old school Nebraska run the triple option down there. They are turning them around and handing the ball off. The time of possession was insane. Oregon State had the ball 35 minutes to really 36 minutes to Colorado's 24. In comparison, let me talk to you about the first downs. Oregon State, which it wouldn't surprise me if this was a record, had 25 first downs. 25. I can't tell you, you're not going to win the ball game when that happens. And I know I was giving a lot of kudos to the defense, and that still is staying intact. I'm just giving you how the offense did not show up. If the offense actually had drives, they would not have 25 first downs. Wouldn't be nowhere close. And it was just a complete and utter failure. I'm going to go through it. Let me just start here. It was really hard to turn to the game. I was watching USC and watching the game. It was really entertaining, LSU, Alabama, but I decided to give the game a watch. But I'm just going to keep it real. I'm going to start at halftime because the first quarter and the second quarter were really frustrating. The Oregon State just drove the ball and took up most of the first quarter, and they ended up scoring near the end of it, making it 7-0. There was a big fumble by Shiloh. He came through, had a fumble causing hit, and put them right in the red zone. They couldn't convert 7-3. At that particular moment, second quarter basically goes by into the last 2 minutes. I really thought the Buffaloes were going to go into the halftime 7-3 and then get the ball in the second half. They were in the driver's seat until coaching lapses happened. Now, how does that work? They get the ball at the 5-yard line and they have to drive 90-something yards under 2 minutes. At this particular moment, the Colorado Buffaloes hadn't had 90 yards in offense. Why would you think they would drive 90-something yards and get a touchdown in less than 2 minutes? And Oregon State had timeouts. I could see if Oregon State didn't have timeouts, it didn't work. You could just run the ball and then everybody goes into halftime. They gave up that cheap touchdown, making it 14-3. As a defensive person, that is deflating. You're playing your ass off, and that happens. You give up a cheap TD at the end. And that's what made the difference to me. They were not prepared to go defend 20 yards at the drop of a hat. They really held Oregon State to 19 points. And they gave the offense 2 points because they scored on a 2-point conversion. That just is piss poor coaching execution. I typically go through each and every part of this game plan. I have it written down. I actually did another video where I broke down everything in the first, second, third, fourth quarter, but I couldn't get past how frustrating the game was because of the offensive lapses. Now, in the second half, there were some heroics. I'm not going to shortchange Travis Hunter and Xavier Weaver's contributions and Shedeur making the throws, but across the board, it was a failure offensively. In the first quarter, I think they were doing really good, moving the pocket for Shedeur. I think I saw some RPOs. I think they need to incorporate more run-pass options to keep the defensive linemen on their heels. I saw that. But then after the second quarter, it was back to drop back, throw the ball. And your 5 offensive linemen have no help. There was no chip protection. There was no no moving the pocket, none of that. From that point on, Shedeur was then getting hit a whole lot more, and I'm just like dumbfounded. I'm like, well, what is going on? Deuce, you have to at least help the lineman out, because you don't have to say, everyone knows this isn't the most talented offensive front, but you're just going to let them go on an island and keep having them get rushed. It just didn't make any sense. And at the end, they bring the game back, but I knew the game was over. They scored 26-19. They did not kick an onside kick, which makes no sense. The defense was tired at that point. You cannot, if you have more chances at the ball, you want to kick the onside kick there. If you get it, oh well. Oregon State doesn't have an explosive offense. You knew they were you knew they were running the ball. I just didn't understand the thought process there, because the 2-yard runs in the first half were now becoming 5 to 7 yard runs because the defense was tired. It was a physical game. And it happened just like I thought it would. They kicked the ball deep. Oregon State only needed 1 first down. And again, they had 25 first downs in the game. Ball game over. It doesn't matter when you called your timeouts. It was a wrap. You should have kicked the onside kick there. And again, it's situational football awareness, and the ball was dropped. There's no excuse for it. The offensive staff shit the bed. I paused to add emphasis. They did not show up. If they scored 21 points, I don't. And again, to me, they held them 19 points, except for that Chiefs touchdown. They scored 21 points. The game is really over. They could not score. If they had a fumble, they had a holding, they had a sack, Oregon State could not pass the ball. They literally held their breath whenever they had to throw the ball. They're that limited passing. So, it is what it is. Going on with the rest of the schedule is, you got the rest of it. You got Washington State coming up. You got Arizona coming up, who's looking good. They just beat UCLA. And then you ended Utah. And Utah just beat the piss out of Arizona State. And Arizona State, you barely beat them. So, it's going to be a rough, rest of the ride. But this game was for the taking. And that's what's frustrating about it. Heritage Sports.